that the short length question asked in examination is write short notes on locational triangles also. Like for von Thunen, we have encountered the question, write short note on isolated state. I don't need to write isolated state as one line that there is one economically isolated area believed. I have to construct out von Thunen model. So this is how you have to judge. Examiner tries to create some sort of a mire by giving us some unconventional term, but I should not be carried away. So locational triangles, isodopanes of the labor cost, and agglomeration are the three parts of the concept. I'm proceeding. I'm talking about locational triangle. Can you have you given me the permission to proceed? Clear till here? आप लोग बताइए, सब point clear है? What are isotyms? Isotyms, iso. Language में पढ़ा था ना, isoglosses. Come on. Isotyms, imaginary lines joining the places having same transportation cost. With increasing distance from raw material source 1, more you will displace raw material, transportation cost will increase, yes or no? Same will happen with raw material too, same will happen with market. Are we comfortable with isotyms? Yes, no? Yes. Based on, come on class here, are we comfortable with isotyms? Imaginary lines joining the places having same transportation cost. And what is the fundamentals of transportation cost? Increase the distance traveled, increase the transportation cost, increase the weight of the commodity, increase transportation cost. Now applying these isotyms by believing that the base of the triangle is raw material sources and apex is the market, what he has given, careful, he has given us two locational triangle. तो हम अपने diagram में तीनों बनाएंगे because I want to show examiner isotyms also. So I create two locational triangles now. Equilateral बनाया है तो free hand भी बनाने की कोशिश में we try to make it look equilateral. I know that I have got raw material sources at the base of the triangle. So I quickly mark it in both the diagrams. And I have got market at the apex of the triangle. So I have done that also. अब carefully visualize करेंगे the change. Supposedly, in my manufacturing requirement, I need heavier raw material. So carefully judge करते हैं. I need raw material 1, 2 tons. I need raw material 2 tons. And my ready product is of 1 ton of the weight. Will it be very logical and profitable that I'll be establishing my industry I as raw material oriented? Yes, no. Will I be making my industry raw material oriented? Why it will be raw material oriented? Because it is weight losing industry. Decode. What is weight losing industry? Fine. A ready product is lighter than the raw material. Yes, all of us. What's our example? All core sector industry. Iron steel industry, cement industry, sugar mills. Sugar cane is much bulkier than sugar, apart from, of course, being perishable. As soon as you harvest cane, you need to crush it. Otherwise, the sucrose level goes on depleting in its quality and quantity. So weight is also the important purview. So when I take the account of my industry is weight losing type. So which will be the least cost location for it? Raw material oriented. Comfortable? अच्छा, दूसरा case create करते हैं. Supposedly I have raw material 1 required 1 ton, raw material 2 required 1 ton, and ready product is 4 tons of the weight. It seems quite unlikely. How it is possible that raw material is just 1 ton and ready product is 4 tons? Assemblage, auto components assembled as automobile. Yes, no? Yes. Come on, what will be the least cost location? It will be market oriented industry And why it will be market oriented? Because it is weight gaining industry. Have you understood it, class? Yes, all of you here. Hand raise karo, nahi samajh mein aaya, no likhiye, please, otherwise give me go ahead. What is locational triangle's benefit? Careful. Locational triangle benefit is that I have analyzed 3 out of 4 factors. I know raw material role. I know the role of market in terms of ready products weight. And I know the role of transportation cost. Locational triangle is giving me one benefit. Distance to be traveled has been stabilized. Yes or no? So what exactly is determining the transportation cost? Weight of the commodity. That is how we are saying raw material oriented industry when it is weight losing, and market oriented industry when it is weight gaining. Is that clear with all of us? Yes. Yes. We are quickly attempting. I'm just going back one page. How many parts the concept is divided into? 3 interrelated parts. We are talking about locational triangles the first. Write down about it and then you will copy down these 3 triangles. Locational triangles. Quick, brief details. It includes equilateral triangles with raw material sources at the base of the triangle and market at the apex of the triangle. Next point. Applying transportation cost to be increasing with increase in the distance traveled and weight displaced. Numerous isotems, boldly underline the term, numerous isotems, bracket, imaginary lines joining the places having similar transportation cost. Imaginary lines joining the places having same transportation cost. Close the bracket. Was constructed next point. Based on the combination of the values of isotems two types of least cost locations least cost locations were defined. Write them separately. Raw material oriented, boldly underline. Raw material oriented for the weight losing industries. Write separately. Market oriented. Market oriented location for weight gaining industries. In a single box, copy down all the three triangles in front of you. In examination, you can choose not to draw the diagram of isotims, but other two you have to draw. So the choice that is available with you is that you can avoid drawing isotim, because isotim is enlarged in the other two. So single frame में तीनों को copy down करिए. And then I repeat one more time, then we take next step. Locational triangle. Transportation cost increases with increase in the distance traveled and weight of the commodity displaced. So isotims, imaginary lines joining the places having same transportation cost, will go on increasing of its value with increasing distance from a center. Combining them, there are two least cost locations distinguished: raw material or market. Which type of industries will be raw material oriented, which has got a heavier raw material than ready product? इसलिए हम उसको क्या कह रहे हैं? Weight losing. And which type of industries will be market oriented, that has got heavier ready product? So weight gaining. Any of the consumer durable assemblage, any other assemblage, paper production, bottling of beverages, सब के सब weight gaining industries. Every of such example is weight gaining. The case, I ask you to copy down the diagrams, because you should give yourself reason of attempting the diagrams twice, thrice, even while writing assignments, then eventually test, and while making your notes also, because that makes it slightly perfect and you don't take much time to draw it. Examination hall, you don't have luxury of picking up scale, pencil, eraser. Time is very limited. You have to quickly draw freehand sketches. So when you are in practice of the diagram, it comes very spontaneous. It doesn't take effort. And rule I have been repeating. If it is a 20 marker question, create yourself a rule that I'll be drawing at least 4 to 5 diagrams. Target ऐसा लेके चलोगे तो कम से कम 3 तो बनेंगे ही. 1 page each. It's important. Can I proceed? एक बार दोबारा से रिपीट करें, ध्यान से सुनो, फिर नेक्स्ट. But what is being said, utilizing it, do you agree that labor demand determines labor cost? If I'll be hiring labor in the area where labor is already in high demand, I will have to bear higher labor cost. But if I am willing to hire labor at location where labor demand is not that high, automatically I'll be saving on labor cost. Concepts are always built on certain generalization. Generalization should not be our assessment of whether the concept is valid or invalid. What is being said, utilizing those assumptions, is what we should think about. And I find all practicality that labor cost will decrease with increasing distance from locational triangle, because demand for industrial labor will decrease there. Yes. And if my industry is not at all labor intensive, then I have happily decided what I have decided. My least cost location is either raw material oriented or market oriented. Here I am bearing more labor cost, no problems, but I don't have much labor requirement. But if I have got higher labor requirement, then my least cost location will be outside locational triangle, where labor cost savings is more than additional transportation. I go to the page 1 where we have taken the development of this concept. What is the least cost approach of Alfred Weber comprised of? Least cost approach of Alfred Weber is study of locational triangles. We are done with it. Labor cost isodopanes. We are done with it. Now we want to talk about agglomeration, right? Okay. What is meant by agglomeration? I first quickly attempt the diagram, and this is the trick of drawing this diagram, because if you draw locational triangle first and then draw the critical isodopane, it will consume more time. What I have done, I have taken five critical isodopanes of different locational triangles. So I've quickly plotted locational triangle between these critical isodopanes. Nothing to draw, please understand. What is the meaning of the term agglomeration? Meaning of the term agglomeration is clustering. Have you ever wondered that we'll be learning that on the map of world also to prove our point, that whenever we see industries in the real world, I find that industries tend to cluster at a given location. I don't find the decisions by any of the producer to establish the industry at the virgin area or the area where there is no other industries existing. Keep that in mind and try and understand agglomeration as projected by Alfred Weber. What Weber is doing? Weber says, in a given location, in place of zooming up and looking in for one locational triangle with this critical isodopane, if I slightly zoom out and I'm noticing many neighboring locational triangles with their critical isodopane, I'll find them to be overlapping. What is overlapping? Critical isodopanes are overlapping. This overlap have been given the name agglomeration. And agglomeration is nothing but clustering. Carefully see, I just want to change color to shade them up so that it can be. Maximum of the overlap in our figure is of the two critical isodopane. I shade them with green dots. Maximum of the overlaps that we have drawn in our diagram, as given to us by Weber himself, is where two critical isodopane are overlapping. So I've shaded them here and I'm labeling it here now. It is which type that we are taking into account? It's called secondary. Secondary agglomeration. And there is only one in our figure that involves three critical isodopane overlapping. And I label it here and I'm putting it primary. Diagram ready ho gaya. Both of them are agglomeration. Ab dhyan se samajhiye what it is. What is meant by agglomeration? Agglomeration is about clustering. Agglomeration is about clustering benefit. What Weber is saying, that in a given location where I see many locational triangles with their critical isodopane, they will overlap with each other. What will overlap? Critical isodopane will overlap with each other. Wherever two critical isodopanes are overlapping, think about it. It means twofold benefit of raw material. twofold benefit of market, twofold benefit of transport infrastructure, and twofold benefit of labor cost saving. Yes or no? Will it not facilitate the subsequent industrial development? Where two overlaps, it is twofold benefit. Where three overlaps, it is threefold benefit. So threefold benefit for the future industrialization, primary agglomeration, twofold benefit, secondary agglomeration. Worldwide, industries shows this benefits of clustering. That is what Weber is also talking about. Whether I consider it to be absolutely valid or not, criticism will do later. Have you visualized what is agglomeration? Let me put it like this. A smaller scale view. अभी तक आप कौन सा view ले रहे हो? Larger scale. You are talking about one locational triangle with its labor cost contours. Now you are taking a smaller scale view where there are many neighboring locational triangles with their critical isopropane. Have you visualized it? Have you visualized it? Quickly pen it down. The easiest part of the concept. Agglomerations, third and the final. And then you copy down this diagram. Then I'll repeat. Agglomerations. Point 1. Denotes benefit. Denotes benefit of clustering. Next, it is projected by Alfred Weber. It is projected by Alfred Weber as overlapping of critical isodopanes. Overlapping of critical isodopanes of neighboring locational triangles. Of neighboring locational triangles. Next point. Emphasizing on agglomeration economies. Economies is benefits. Agglomeration economies. Weber distinguished write them separately as two sub-bullet points. Primary agglomeration. Yes, Namiksha, you're right. Primary agglomeration. Underline it. In front of it, write down. Involving threefold benefits. Involving threefold benefits for subsequent industrialization. For subsequent industrialization. Make another sub-bullet point. Secondary agglomeration. Secondary agglomerations, underline boldly, with twofold benefits for subsequent industrialization. I have drawn the diagram and I have given you the trick to swiftly draw this diagram. If you draw triangles first, then the diagram will become time consuming. फटाफट से सर्कल बनाओ ओवरलैप करके एंड देन सेंटर में ट्राइंगल फिट कर दो. Easiest way of doing it. Do label primary and secondary. We have written that in content. Let me just continue to write it as cost. I'll enlarge it later. Chalo. It is classification of cost. That is one addition that Hoover has given. Number two, based on classification of cost, he talks about selection of means of transport. Because even the selection of means of transport will be making you minimize your cost of production. और इसी का extension उसके साथ लिख सकते हो, अलग बना लो, recognition to break of bulk sender. Recognition of break of bulk sender. Now I'm making you understand it. समझ में आ जाएगा तो कुछ points लिखवा देंगे, otherwise I'm writing all the things. Carefully understand. Nothing to copy down, first understand. What is this classification of cost? Hoover said least cost is the most profitable location. Weber is absolutely right. But I need to give recognition to the different types of cost. So how many types of cost Hoover has given us? He has given us two types of cost. Cost one, variable cost, and cost two, fixed cost. Please understand it, then I'll make you right. Variable, distance traveled, weight displaced, and level of processing. And fixed cost is terminal cost. And now I'm explaining, I have written all the key things. इसको स्टार मार्क पर डाल देते हैं. ध्यान से सुनिए. Hoover enriched least cost. Why? Number one, because he classified cost. He gave us two types of cost. एक है variable cost. What is variable cost? More you travel, more you pay. Less you travel, less you pay. Lighter commodity displaced certain distance, less you have to pay. Heavier commodity traveled certain distance, more you have to pay. Was Alfred Weber not talking about it? He was, but he never called it variable cost. He never called it variable cost. Even von Thunen was talking about it. Yes or no? Come on, what is variable cost? Come on, class, give me hand raise. What is variable cost? Variable cost is more I travel, more I pay, heavier commodity displaced, more I pay. So every earlier scholars were talking about it. But यहाँ पर एक attachment है. Think about it. Same weight, careful, same weight of raw material and ready product to be transported to same distance. Repeating, same weight of raw material and ready product to be transported the same distance, absolutely same distance. Ready product will have higher transportation cost compared to raw material. Reason: increased handling charges, increased packaging charges. I hope all of us are understanding it. It is increase in handling and packaging charges. So higher the levels of processing, higher will be transportation cost. Was Weber talking about it? So if it is cotton yarn, cotton thread, cotton textile, wearing apparel, you have got the vertical integration, value addition. I will be transferred. There is change in volume. There is actually no major change in weight. If I take the reference of level of processing, transporting cotton textile by default will be more expensive affair, because Transporting it will be incorporating handling, packaging, etc. So variable cost was recognized by Hoover, point 1. Apart from giving recognition to that variable cost will vary in accordance to distance traveled and weight of the commodity displaced. It will also vary with the reference of level of processing. This is how you justify it. Okay? Okay. Then fixed cost. What is fixed cost? Terminal cost. Now carefully understand what we are trying to pick up. I want to draw a locational triangle of Alfred Weber right here. Miniature, because we have learned it already. What Weber is saying, terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3, and terminal 4. In the production process, Weber is emphasizing that 4 terminals by default will be used. What is meant by terminal? I am utilizing the services, loading, deloading of terminal 1, raw material. Will I have to pay? Come on, someone is providing me with the raw material, loading, unloading from raw material 1 source. Will I have to pay? I have to. I cannot compromise because I need to have raw material from that place. Then comes raw material 2. Do I need to apply the terminal cost of raw material 2? Yes, again. I have to deload my ready product at market. So there also I have to bear the terminal cost. Why unnecessarily we are adding one additional terminal in our production process? Because more the terminals added, more the fixed cost is added to the production process. So industries should not be raw material oriented. It should be at raw material. Should not be market oriented. Should be at market. So that you can minimize your terminals in the production process to 3. If the terminal cost will be reduced, will it not be least cost? Come on, give me, go ahead. Are you understanding? Virtual class students waiting for your response. Great. So what is the addition that I see with Hoover? Number 1, he has classified the cost, that is variable cost and fixed cost, where fixed cost was not talked about by Weber and variable cost is enriched by him as he takes into consideration variable as increase in distance traveled, increase in weight of the commodity displaced plus level of processing. अगर आपको criticism of Alfred Weber लिखना है तो आप बहुत आराम से लिख सकते हो. He never talked about level of processing and he never talked about fixed cost. Is this much comfortable with all of us? Can we quickly write this point of Hoover? Least cost school, scholar number 2, Hoover. Point 1, enriched least cost approach. Enriched least cost approach by A, classification of cost, B, selection of appropriate means of transport, C, and final, recognition to break of bulk center. Recognition to break of bulk center. We are enlarging A first. Who were classified cost as variable cost and fixed cost. Next point. The variable cost, underline it, like Weber, was defined to be increasing with increase in the distance traveled. Increase in the distance traveled and weight of the commodity displaced. Star mark. It was added with level of processing. Level of processing, bracket, as ready product requiring packaging and handling involves a higher cost of transportation. Involves a higher cost of transportation. B. First take fixed cost. Change over and write fixed cost. Fixed cost. Underline it boldly. Point number 1. He introduced recognition of fixed cost in the least cost ideology. Next point. It has been defined to be the terminal cost next point. Hoover argued that larger number of terminals utilized in production process larger number of terminals utilized in production process tends to add to the fixed cost same point change over. It is therefore that industries should be located. We are writing 2 points, write them separately or underline it. Should be located at raw material or at market. Are you giving me go ahead? This part we have written. Hoover's contribution number A. He has classified the cost. How many types of cost are there? Fixed and variable. Variable was talked about by Weber also. Lekin enrichment hai. Level of processing. Fixed cost was not talked about by Weber. So if I have to criticize, I'll write it that way. If I have to just talk about least cost approach, I'll say Hoover have enriched it. Comfortable? Terminals in the production process should be minimized. Clear till here. Give me a confident go ahead. Yes, all of us? Acha, while you were writing, I have quickly drawn the line diagram. Usko dekh ke thoda sa point samjho. And then I make you write about it. Means of transport part B. अब यहाँ क्या करना है? Enlarging the fixed cost. Fixed cost of seaport. Supposedly, I have to transport my commodity. I have to transport my commodity from Mumbai to Goa. And I have decided that I'll be transporting the commodity via marine route. I'll be utilizing the seaport of Mumbai. Then I'll be utilizing the seaport of Marmagaon. It will be economical, societal decision. Why? Handling charges of seaport is very high. I hope you are understanding. That is, the fixed cost of seaport is very high. For short distance travel, therefore, ship. I have written waterways and I have written ship, not boat. For short distance traveled, ships will be the most expensive means of transport. Because when you have to travel long distance, you have to bear high variable cost. Then the high fixed cost gets compensated. Short distance travel, ship is not the means of transport. Making sense? So come on, take it like this. Truck depot handling. I cannot write bus because we are talking about movement of commodity. In India, even in bus, the commodities are moved, but that is something which is practically not justified. So truck. Roadways are the cheapest means of transport for short distance travel. Railways are cheapest means of transport for intermediate distance travel. And waterways, we are talking about oceanic routes. Isliye ship likha hai. Waterways are the cheapest means of transport for long distance travel. Why? What is the rationale with which we are deciding this? Truck depot handling charge, container handling charge at rail station, and container handling charge at ports. If is compared, port handling charge is exponentially high, making waterways the conducive means of transport only for long distance travel. Come on, give me a confident go ahead. हो रहा है ना enriching least cost approach. And if I have to make what Weber was lacking in, तो हम कह देंगे ना, Weber never talked about means of transportation. Yes? Yes. Going back to the previous page, classification of cost A, selection of means of transport B. Now we are writing about it. B. Quickly write it and then you'll copy down this line diagram. B. Selection of means of transport. selection of means of transport. Point 1 for it, based on the terminal cost. Based on the terminal cost, Hoover specified the selection of means of transport to practically attain least cost production. Next point. He advocated that roadways provides cheapest means for short distance travel railways for intermediate distance travel and waterways bracket marine routes for long distance travel in bracket write down as the handling charges of seaport, as the handling charges of seaport is exponentially high. I think you have understood it. Quickly copy down this particular line diagram. बिल्कुल फ्री हैंड बनाना है, रिलेटिविटी पे बनाना है. Horizontal axis distance is plotted, vertical axis transportation cost per unit. Of course, we are taking transportation cost in combination to fixed cost, terminal cost. So I travel from Vancouver to Tokyo. I have to bear higher variable cost. I can compensate high fixed cost. Long distance travel, ship is cheapest. Intermediate distance travel, rail is cheapest. Inland waterways are not considered here, Aksh. Inland waterways will not be with port handling. They will be for short to intermediate distance. No, they don't have the same handling charge. We'll talk about it. Now here you utilize your level of understanding and you build up your content, that everything that Hoover is saying, Weber have not said. You can easily say these are the limitation of Weber's concept. And it is any day much better criticism than leg pulling of the scholar. कि लोकेशनल ट्राइंगल होते नहीं है, एक रैशनल इकोनॉमिक क्रिएचर्स नहीं होते हैं, आइसोडोपेन नहीं होते हैं, वो तो लेग पुलिंग, दैट शुड बी अवॉइडेड. आई एम वेटिंग फॉर योर गो अहेड. अभी रेपिटेशन का चांस मिलेगा, एक बार फटाफट से सी पॉइंट को ऐड इन करते हैं. आई एम लोकेटेड एट पुणे. पुणे पहुंच गए मेंटली, मुंबई भी आराम से पहुंच सकते हैं, लंदन भी पहुंच गए. अच्छा, अब ध्यान से देखो, केयरफुली टेक एग्जांपल. आई एम लोकेटेड इन पुणे एंड माय रिक्वायर्ड गुड्स आर कमिंग फ्रॉम लंदन. This will by default be utilizing Mumbai port because I need to incorporate multi-mode of transport. आजकल तो इंडिया में बस टर्म है ना, multi-modal transport. What is multi-modal? When I'm using many modes of transport. So via the marine route, my cargo will come from London to Mumbai, but I'm placed at Pune. Merchant vessel cannot come to Pune. So I have to utilize the port facility of Mumbai, where my cargo will be deloaded and then will be loaded either on railways or on truck and will be transported at my doorstep. Okay? Yes. This a hypothetical example of mine is excellent case of multimodal transport. Okay? See the practicality of the concept. Going to the previous page. Break of bulk centers. Hoover was the scholar who very strongly said, minimize the terminals in your production process. Because more terminals you add to the cost of production and it is not going to be least cost. But gives recognition to, if multimodal transport is to be utilized. If multimodal transport is to be utilized, then there is mandatory requirement of a terminal called break of bulk. In my example, Mumbai will be the break of bulk center. Give me go ahead. समझ में आ गया? इसको आप फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट के साथ ऐड ऑन कर सकते हो. इट्स गुड दैट यू राइट इट सेपरेटली, एक डायमेंशन क्रिएट होता है. समझ में आ गया? He gave recognition to multimodal transport and break of bulk center. So wherever you are utilizing more than one means of transport, there will be by default the requirement of break of bulk center. It is adding practicality to the concept. Quickly add it on. C and the final point. Gave recognition to break of bulk center, underline. Break of bulk center in the requirement of multimodal transportation. Multimodal transportation required for production process. Required for production process. Drop your pen. When I talk about Hoover and Hoover's contribution to least cost approach, it is any day enriching over what was done by Weber. What are the points with which we have emphasized this enrichment? Number one, classification of cost, first time recognition given to fixed cost. Number three, jumping to three, minimize the terminals in your production process, because that is going to add to the fixed cost and it will not be least cost, but then gives practicality. If you are utilizing multimodal transportation, then break of bulk center by default will be mandatory. सोच कर देखो, in Europe, every big river have been interconnected with navigable canal. So much so that I can make my merchant vessel navigate through the entire landmass of Europe as if there is no landmass. Has European countries not saved on their fixed cost and thus having cost competitive production? One of the very prominent reason that Europe continues to have the dominating reference when it comes to the manufacturing industry on the map of world. Are you making sense? If there would have been break of bulk centers, as in our case of our Mumbai and Pune, automatically there would have been increased fixed cost. They are having cost competitiveness because of that. So we'll be utilizing all. Many other examples are coming our way as we take this information to real world. So enrichment, number one, by classification of cost. Number two, by giving recognition to break of bulk center. और जो सबसे important है वो ये है. Number three, selecting appropriate means of transport in your production process. अगर आपके production process में involved distance to be traveled is short, then don't select seaport, because port terminal cost is very high and it will make your transportation cost exponentially high. Weber was not talking about any of such thing. I don't need to compare that with Weber, but if examiner asks me, and this question have been asked in examination, bring out the limitation of Weber's concept and how Hoover or Ishard have improved over it. तो आपको limitation देके improvement तो लिखनी पड़ेगी ना. Otherwise, if you are not encountered with that question, you are simply answering what are the locational approaches in geography. तो Weber का work करके फिर Hoover का work, then फिर Ishard का work. That is how you can write up the things. Come on, class. What is